Just before an election vital to the future of democracy, MSNBC fired host Tiffany Cross because Fox News complained. Where is the protest by Lawrence O'Donnell? The anger from Chris Hayes? The threat to quit by Rachel Maddow? Will you pretend this is not your problem, Rachel, or will you stand up for what is right, like you used to?
All right, guys, so I promised you that I would react to race hustler Roland Martin reacting to race hustler Tiffany Cross getting fired from MSNBC for spewing anti-white racism openly on air. And he has finally done a segment that I can actually react to when it comes to Tiffany Cross getting fired. Now, again, the woke revolutionaries on Twitter, Black Twitter, they're so upset about this, okay? They can't stand the fact that Tiffany Cross got fired from MSNBC, and they are demanding answers. Although the answers are there. We know why she got fired. They just don't want to admit the real reason that she got fired. But it's a little bit deeper than that. And I'm going to explain why it's a little bit deeper than just Tiffany Cross being an anti-white racist. Essentially, people like Tiffany Cross and Joy Reid and Zerlina Maxwell, who were prominent Black women hosts at that network, their time is up because they're no longer useful, okay? They're not doing their job effectively for what they were hired for, and we're going to talk about that. But first, I want to say this. As you saw at the beginning of this video, you have people like Keith Olbermann, who I believe used to work at MSNBC. He is essentially calling out the white host at the network, people like Rachel Maddow and others, to speak out for Tiffany Cross. And I'm just like, why would they speak out for her? They're not going to speak out for her. You know why they're not going to speak out for her? Is because she was an anti-white racist. Why would any white host at that network come to the defense of Tiffany Cross, who essentially spewed racism against whites every weekend on her failing show? Right? I don't know why anybody would think that any white person at that network would come to her rescue. Also, on top of that, she was fired by a Black woman, okay? A Black woman that is the president of MSNBC. She was fired by her. So again, it's going to be hard to play the race card here, but as you guys know, this is what the race hustle is going to do. They're going to find a way to play the race card to try to say this is some type of racism, or that, white people get more chances. They get the benefit of the doubt because she's a Black woman. They got rid of her. Again, they're never going to actually hold her accountable for the nonsense that she spewed on that network that nobody else on cable television would have been allowed to spew if they were not a Black woman on a liberal network, okay? If Tucker Carlson was spewing the stuff that Tiffany Cross was spewing about white people, if he was spewing that about Black folks, he would not be on Fox News, right? He wouldn't be on Fox News. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into this reaction here from Roland Martin.
So I keep telling y'all, when these white folks act a fool and lose their jobs, they should be replaced by Black people. I'm just saying. Yep. Speaking of Black folks losing their jobs, a group of African Americans released a letter today blasting MSNBC's decision to part ways with Tiffany Cross. This letter was, I was one of the folks who actually signed the letter as well, was released today publicly, and I want to read it for you. All right, folks, pull it up, please. The letter states, "Dear Miss Jones," this is addressed to Rashida Jones, African-American who is the president of MSNBC, the first African-American to be president of a news network. "We write to you on behalf of the Cross Connection viewing audience, which is made up of more than 35% of Black Americans and other people of color who tune in every weekend. Throughout her more than 20 years in media, Tiffany Cross has been a consistent light of truth. Her integrity is a hallmark of her career on which her steadfast audience has come to rely. Ms. Cross is a trusted communicator, friend, and validator to marginalized communities who too often find their voices and valuable perspectives missing from mainstream media. Nowhere was this more true than on her MSNBC show, The Cross Connection. Her authentic audience connection and intentional truth-telling made it MSNBC's highest-rated weekend show, becoming appointment viewing for a committed audience that made the show's topics and host trend weekly. That is why we are deeply disappointed in the abrupt cancellation of The Cross Connection and the unexpected ouster of its host just 4 days before a critical midterm election. This decision was announced just 2 weeks after a targeted, racist, and misogynistic strike against both Ms. Cross's reporting and character from a known racist and anti-Semite, Fox News host Tucker Carlson. His intentional misrepresentation of her platform amounted to no less than a direct attack and should have engendered immediate defense and support of Ms. Cross by her parent network. Instead, it appears that NBC Universal has allowed Fox News to dictate its hiring and unwarranted firing decisions. We cannot afford to be bullied by those who willingly and wantonly drag this country backwards.
All right, so you guys notice how they want to accuse Tucker Carlson of being a racist and an anti-Semite. I don't understand what proof or evidence that they have for that, outside of the fact that they just believe that anybody on Fox News has to be racist or anti-Semitic, right? This is what they say. But with Tiffany Cross, we have actual evidence and proof of racism being spewed from her on her show. But they never will address it. The closest thing they come to actually addressing her statements is to say, well, she was a truth teller. She was a truth teller. She was a truth teller. That is their way of saying, well, we're totally fine with the anti-white racism that she was spewing. We're totally fine with that because it was the truth, right? This is what their truth. But see, again, if Fox News even so much as connects crime with black people, which is also the truth, oh, they're racist. They're racist, right? Because that's as much of the racism that they can find on Fox News. It's soft stuff. It's soft racism. Tiffany Cross spews hard racism, and these people acting like they're surprised. We don't know why she got fired. She got fired for telling the truth. Again, absolutely amazing stuff. The disconnect from reality here is just insane.
Given the undeniable rise of fascism and persistent threats to democracy we face in the current moment, NBC should be an unrelenting force for truth and a safe harbor for voices like Ms. Cross, as well as those with whom she shared her broad and popular platform. While other networks give voice to election deniers, Ms. Cross featured voting rights champions. Where other shows spread disinformation, the Cross Connection spotlighted justice. Where other outlets catered to the country's worst instincts, Ms. Cross elevated the discourse and taught audiences how to protect democracy. There's a persistent...
Again, nothing but Democrat talking points, okay? These are all Democrat talking points. Well, you know, Tiffany Cross went along with the Democrat program. Why is she getting fired? That is basically what he's saying. Okay, that's what he's saying. Nobody is platforming election deniers. Who on Fox News is denying the election? Because I can tell you right now, they can't, right? They can't because they got sued for it, right? So again, what are you talking about, right? What are you saying?
Theme in the denigrating of black women's value and the silencing of black women's voices when they speak uncomfortable but necessary truths about the state of our society.
See what I'm saying?
This season is too grave a moment in American history to silence the voices of black women who, time and again, save America from itself. Tiffany Cross has long been one of those black women, and her voice is needed now more than ever. We believe you are clear about the dangers we are collectively facing and how reminiscent it is of this nation's dark past. We would like to meet with you before Friday, November 11th, 2022, to discuss a path forward that is restorative to the reputation and dignity of Ms. Cross.
They ain't gonna meet with them, right? They ain't gonna meet with them at all, okay? They have no reason to meet with them. You don't dictate nothing. You don't have any power. And these people about to learn that the hard way.
The reality is this here, folks. Also, Keith Olbermann ripped Rachel Maddow, Chris Hayes, Lawrence O'Donnell for their silence after Tiffany was let go. Now, her contract is up in a month. They said it was her comments. Well, no, they haven't actually given an official reason. It's the sources that we've actually heard from that have been talking. MSNBC gave no statement. But what they did do is, after the letter was dropped, they did release a statement. Lori Ann Asio, Vice President of Communications for NBC News and MSNBC, gave this statement to the GRIO that business decisions like this happen all the time. Quote, we received a letter signed by several organizations. We are proud of our long history celebrating diversity on and off air at MSNBC and throughout the news group. This is an ongoing effort and will continue to elevate diverse perspectives and voices during this election season and beyond. And they're going to have a rotation of hosts on the Cross Connection until they finalize their programming. And let me just tell you what's probably going to end up happening. And so go ahead and write it down. MSNBC is paying Jen Psaki a whole bunch of money to come host a show there at MSNBC. Now remember, they got rid of Amin's show and Zerlina Maxwell's show on the Peacock channel, okay? Because they're saving money. They're giving Rachel Maddow $30 million to host a show once a week, all right? To keep it from going to Sirius XM or CNN or somewhere else. So
well, she actually pulls in ratings. Again, these are people who actually pull in viewers, okay?
Here's what's going to happen. They're going to probably move Jen Psaki into Jonathan Capehart's slot on Sunday morning. They're probably going to move Jonathan Capehart into Tiffany's slot on Saturday. Watch it happen. Write it down. It's going to happen. That's what you're actually dealing with there. But really what you're dealing with here, and this is what I keep telling y'all about mainstream media. I spent 6 years at CNN. And when people come up to me like, man, I wish you go back to mainstream media, I said, let me explain something to you. The only person who can fire Roland Martin is God. That's the hierarchy here. I'm the CEO, I'm the owner. God is the only person above me.
Yeah, I mean, your audience can fire you too if they stop watching, right? If enough of them are not watching, you can get fired by the audience. So I'm just saying, hey, you might not want to get too cocky here. I'm just saying.
When you work in that environment, ratings don't matter. They will fire you if they want to.
See, another thing too that bothers me is that they keep peddling this idea that Tiffany Cross had great ratings. She did not have great ratings. Her time slot compared to CNN and Fox News' time slot, she was the worst. Okay, she was losing to them. She was losing to CNN and Fox News. Ratings are relative to the other networks and their same time slots. It doesn't matter if she had the highest rated show on the weekend. All the weekend shows are bad because people don't watch these news channels on the weekend, right? So that's why they have their worst hosts or their hosts that they are training up to potentially be mainstream hosts on the weeknights. They have them on the weekends, right? So the ratings aren't going to be good regardless, even if they're the highest rated on the weekend. And Tiffany Cross, her show was the lowest rated when compared to CNN and Fox News in her same time slot. Now, that's bad because CNN routinely gets beat out by MSNBC, right? When you're getting beat by CNN in your time slot, that is bad. Okay, so her ratings were not as good as these people keep trying to put out there. She wasn't good.
Would choose not to resign you if they choose to. And that's what happened here. And so I said this, and I tweeted this. Rashida Jones, who I know, the president, must speak to this issue why Tiffany Cross was not given a new contract and continued hosting her show. Her boss, Cesar Conde, over NBC, must speak to this. His boss, Jeff Shale, who's over all of NBC Universal, must speak to this. They all must speak to it.
You're not going to like the answer, right? The answer they're going to give you, you ain't going to like it because they're going to tell you it's because she was too extreme and she's not doing her job. Okay. And I'm going to tell you what I mean by they're not doing their job. Tiffany Cross, Joy Reid, Zerlina Maxwell, they all got elevated by that network after George Floyd, right? After George Floyd, they put all these black women on these programs because their job was literally to take advantage of the momentum of George Floyd to get black folks to come out here and vote Democrat. However, fast forward 2 years later, of all that race hustling that they did on that network, black people are moving away from the Democrat Party, right? Specifically black men, okay? Which means they have failed at their one job. The only role that they have in that network is not for the white folks, right? It is literally for them to keep black people voting Democrat. And they have utterly failed at that. They failed. Black people are moving away from Democrats. It's not as fast as I would like to see it, but it's happening. Hispanics are also moving away from Democrats. So all the so-called people of color that are supposed to go along with people like Joy Reid and Tiffany Cross, they're moving away from the Democrat Party. So it is clear that they're failing at what their assignment was. The assignment was to take advantage of the George Floyd momentum. Now that the George Floyd momentum is over, right? You can't come out here and just openly say anti-white racist stuff anymore and get away with it. MSNBC got rid of her, right? Because she was no longer useful. Her ratings weren't great, and black people are moving away from the Democrat Party, which means that she was effectively a failure for that network in regards to what they wanted her to do. That's why they got rid of Zelina Maxwell. Okay. And they're going to get rid of Joy Reid as well, too. I have no doubt in my mind that Joy Reid is probably on the chopping block. It's just about when and how. Okay. When and how. That's it. That's it. And that's the unfortunate reality for these race hustlers. You were useful after George Floyd. But now that George Floyd is done, all that stuff is calmed down. There's no police brutality, being pushed in your face every single day. It hasn't went away. It's just no race hustle behind it anymore. Your usefulness is done. They don't really want you, right? Because you had one job and you failed at that job.
And black folks, this is real simple. You got to make a decision. Or you're going to keep watching. What do you hear when Jeff Carr in our promotion, when he says, you need to bring your eyeballs home to Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network? The reality is this here. We are the most loyal audience they have. Black folks represent, we watch MSNBC more than anybody else.
No, they don't. No, they don't, bruh. No, they don't. I'm pretty sure MSNBC has a much larger white audience, okay? Which is why they don't give a damn about getting rid of Tiffany Cross, Zelina Maxwell. They're probably gonna get rid of Joy Reid. Stop with this cap, bruh. Right? This is why he couldn't name a statistic in terms of how many black people actually watch MSNBC, because it ain't that many. Okay? Now, again, do they have more viewership of black people than CNN and Fox News? Probably, yeah, definitely, for sure. But it's not enough to justify spewing anti-white racism on their network when, again, a majority of their audience is white, right? They're white. I'm just saying. These people overplay their hand, bro. They think they have more power than they actually do. Black people simply don't have the population numbers to do the things that these people think that black people can do. That's just the reality situation. But again, therefore, policies like, abortion and stuff like that, right? Which dilutes the black population. And then they want to act like, well, we got all this power. No, you don't. No, you don't. Democrats are not focused on black people like that. They're focused on Hispanics. Why? Because their population is growing. The Hispanics are the future of the Democrat Party. And that is why these people want to attach themselves to the Hispanics. They want to say, oh, well, we're all people of color and the Democrats must cater to us. And that's just simply not the case. Democrats don't care about black folks like that. We're not growing, right? So again, people like Tiffany Cross, they're expendable. They're expendable because not enough black people watch that network for it to actually make a difference. But these people act like it does make a difference. It doesn't make a difference. It really don't.
So we should be saying, this how y'all gonna do a truth teller? And here's the other question. You hired Tiffany Cross for her opinion. So you getting rid of her because of her opinion?
Yeah, her opinion was too much, right? Yeah, I mean, her opinion got out of line. She started going into a territory that you just can't do on national television. She was calling for civil war. She was telling people to pick up weapons so they can go to war. Again, they never addressed the specific statements that Tiffany Cross has made and why those statements are okay. Right? I would love to see them go through the statements that were highlighted by Tucker Carlson and say, why do you think that it's okay to say this? Why do you think it's okay to say it? Would you be okay if Tucker Carlson or anybody else, any white person on national television said the statements that Tiffany Cross has said about white people, but directed towards black people? Would you be okay with that? I don't think so, right? I don't think so. And again, this is why I say there has to be a standard here, okay? I don't like to see people get fired. However, Tiffany Cross got fired for the standard that was set by people like Roland Martin and the race hustlers, where they accuse everything and everybody of racism. Racism is so terrible. You can't be racist. You can't be racist. So when it becomes clear that a black person is being racist, overtly racist towards whites, hey, you're being held to your own standard. Now, again, if everybody on national TV was allowed to spew racism like Tiffany Cross, hey, I would say, hey, it's wrong to fire her because everybody should be allowed to do it, right? If everybody's allowed to do it, fine. I don't care. But the fact is, everybody's not allowed to do it. And because everybody's not allowed to do it, you have to be held to that standard. You don't get special treatment just because you have a vagina and you're black. That's not how it works. But that's what these people want. They want special rights and privileges to say things that other people can't say and then say, well, we just telling the truth. We just telling the truth. But other people aren't allowed to tell the truth. Again, for example, if you tell the truth about crime on Fox News, you're racist, right? You're racist.
Oh, you didn't realize she was a truth teller when she was trying out? So you gave her a show? Explain that. Explain why would you hire somebody to be an opinion host, but then, well, we don't like it. And keep in mind, I've already heard people say, well, you know, she made the comment on Charlamagne's show about Florida and used the word dick. Mark Halperin called Obama that on Morning Joe and got suspended. He was back on the air. The only reason he got fired was because of his Me Too problems. Oh, I'm sorry, Mark Halperin was a white guy who was a favorite of Joe and Mika. Mm-hmm. Tiffany Cross was never a favorite of Joe and Mika. You never saw her on that show, did you? Which is sort of weird because if you had a high-rated show on the weekends, why wouldn't you have them on the morning show?
Her show wasn't that good, bruh. That's just me.
That's the question. And also, you got to be asking the question, why did the Lena Maxwell show get canceled?
Because she wasn't effective either. She was saying crazy stuff like inflation is only a problem that white people worry about. Black people need to worry about getting killed by the police while driving to work. She was saying all type of crazy race stuff too. These people got to the point where they were saying stuff that was so crazy that it's like, how in the world can you have any credibility as a journalist saying this stuff? Right? That this is how deep they were in their racial rhetoric. Is that they will say anything to make some racialized point, even if it made no sense. Right? Even if it made no sense whatsoever. Joy Reid, she went on air and said, well, Texas is open back up because they want black people to cook their steaks. It's like, bro, what? Where do you get that from? How are you allowed to just openly say stuff like that and remain a credible person? It's not. It's embarrassing. It is costing the network credibility when you platform people who just make crazy statements like that because they're racist, right?
Was it because of ratings? Did they ever tell her it was because of ratings? Those are some questions that should be answered. And let's see if MSNBC schedules that meeting. I'll let my panel weigh in.
Yeah, so that's not going to happen, right? The reason why it's not going to happen because these people don't have any real power. They don't have any real pull. Because if they did, they wouldn't have got fired in the first place. Tiffany Cross wouldn't have got fired in the first place. MSNBC knew what the backlash would be before they fired her, and they took that into consideration before they fired her. So there's nothing that these people can do. She's not getting her job back. Roland, if your network is so good, right, why don't you hire Tiffany Cross? You hire Tiffany Cross, let her host the show or whatever, and go from there. Or Tiffany can start her own YouTube channel, right? If she's so good, start her own YouTube channel. She can join me, Megyn Kelly, Chris Cuomo, right? She can join us and have a YouTube channel. It's really that simple. But again, the reality is that these people are upset because Tiffany Cross got fired for a standard that they set. Okay? These are the people that complain about racism so much. Guess what? Tiffany Cross got fired for being a racist. It is what it is. This is what y'all wanted. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.